Hey everyone, this is Daniel from PhoneArena with the Galaxy Xcover 2. This is Samsung's first shot at rugged telephony for the year, as the Android handset sports water shock and dust-proof certifications. The Xcover 2 upgrades the specs of its predecessor and throws in some neat features, like a dedicated camera shutter key here and an Aqua mode in the camera interface that lets you shoot underwater without special housing. Despite this comparatively thick chassis for modern day standards, the Galaxy Xcover 2 is very light and pretty comfortable to hold due to the patterned back and sides that aid your grip significantly. The handset also feels very ergonomic in the hand, no sharp edges and a solid feel. So it is indeed a good choice for when you're in motion, and the last thing you want to think about is careful handling of a thin and fragile handset. The dark gray plastic chassis and black fascia with metal earpiece grid hint that Samsung's designers haven't spent countless hours busting their heads over the chassis, as it looks like a typical company mid-ranger from the front. The back is a different pint of beer though, as it sports that circular screw, which keeps the back cover shut tight so as no water or sand can get into the electronics when the going gets tough. Xcover 2 is IP67 certified, meaning that it is dust and sand proof, and you can also submerge it in up to 3 feet of water, not beer, for up to 30 minutes without worrying about the internals. The phone sounds like a good match for the beach or your next rafting trip actually. The physical keys below the display are solid with a pretty good tactile feedback, and you can also find they're very easy to feel and press without looking. The same goes for the power lock key and the camera shutter key here on the right, as well as the volume rocker. That same volume rocker is given another handy function when you long press it. Even when the phone is locked, the LED serves as a flashlight, and you can turn it off with the volume down. Pretty handy when you're on the move. As for the flip covers that protect the charging and audio ports, they are one of the few we've tried so far that can be very easily pried off and then snap perfectly back into place, as it should be with a waterproof handset. The display, there's nothing high def about it. It is a regular 480 by 800 pixels WVGA 4-incher with 233 ppi pixel density. Colors seem true, however, and the viewing angles are excellent. IPS LCD or PLS LCD is what Samsung uses. There's one unpleasant downside with the screen though. There's no automatic brightness control. You have to manually adjust the brightness from the slider here in the notification bar. And moreover, the screen is not very bright to begin with. Even at the maximum settings, outside visibility under direct sunlight will be an issue, which is a bit puzzling for a phone that is aimed for outdoor usage. Also, for a rugged handset, Samsung could have included a touchscreen that can be operated with gloves and other objects, like on some Nokia and Sony units. But the only thing we have here is a typical capacitive touchscreen operated with your bare fingers. Samsung's latest nature UX over Android 4.1 Jelly Bean is what you'll find on the Xcover 2, with the typical value-added features like Smart Stay, pop-up, and all share play. The company has also thrown in a few apps like Cardio Trainer Pro, for example, which is meant for the active types among us, and this with the functionality of turning flashlight on with the volume rocker are the only elements that hint at a more outdoorsy handset than usual. We have to complain a bit about the on-screen keyboard, which in portrait mode feels pretty cramped, as you can see. Smaller keys with larger space between them, but thankfully you can easily use landscape mode or use the swipe-like functionality that Samsung provides with its handsets. There's a 1 GHz dual-core processor with our Mali 400 graphics that power the Xcover 2, and the interface performs very well with it, as no lag at all can be observed while swiping around and scrolling up and down in the interface. There is 1 GB of RAM, which comes enough for your everyday multitasking, and 4 GB of internal memory, which can be expanded with a micro SD card for up to 32 GB or more. The handset also supports 14.4 megabits per second HSPA plus speeds and has Wi-Fi, Bluetooth 4.0, GPS, DLNA, and Wi-Fi Direct. Has wireless connectivity options. Let's see how much it will score on Quadrant. Overall, it's not a very fast processor, but it's enough to power the interface and about any app that you throw at it. The Xcover 2 scored 2,956, so close to 3,000, which is nothing spectacular, but will be enough for your everyday tasks. Samsung's default browser didn't give us any trouble while rendering pages, zooming or panning around, as can be expected with Android Jelly Bean and a dual-core processor. There's no Adobe Flash support out of the box naturally, so you'd have to sideload it from Adobe's archives if you need it. Other than that, both the pixel density and the processor power are enough for a very decent browsing experience on the Xcover 2. Samsung's standard music player is not going to win any awards for interface design, but it is functional and you can choose from a number of sound modes and equalizer presets directly from the music player interface. Playing music through the loudspeaker of the Xcover 2 is not going to wow you though, as the unit is strong, but the sound comes out flat and quite distorted at the highest volume. As usual, you can manage the music player from the notification bar or from the lock screen. Let's have a look at video playback now. The handset actually plays everything you throw at it, including MKV files and DivX XVD files up to HD 720p definitions. And you can pop up the player and place it as a window on top of everything else you're doing underneath. Samsung has put a run-of-the-mill 5 megapixel shooter at the back of the Xcover 2 and an LED flash next to it. The interface supports the typical rich amount of shooting modes, scenes and color effects you used to with this Samsung Android interface, with one notable new addition, which is the Aqua mode for shooting pictures underwater without the need of special housing. The pictures come very well positioned in terms of accurate colors and contrast, and there are rarely any white balance issues. Add to this the good amount of detail and decent dynamic range performance, which doesn't overexpose the bright side of contrasting areas in the frame, and we have a pretty good shooter on the Xcover 2. Video capture is done with HD 720 quality and fluid 30 frames per second, which the phone easily maintains inside and outside. The footage is with quite accurate colors and no skipped frames, excessive artifacts or wandering focus. Overall, if you're looking for a rugged but fairly light and compact Android handset, look no further than the Xcover 2. Granted, it doesn't have the specs or panache of the waterproof Xperia Z, but it is shockproof and won't break the bank for you either. Even if you're not the outdoorsy but rather the careless gadget owner type that tosses their phone around and often goes into the pool with it by accident, Xcover 2 will offer a peace of mind. The specs are enough for powering the Android Jelly Bean interface with ease, and the handset takes pretty good pictures and video to boot, so it is an alternative to any mid-range smartphone. There are a few quibbles though, mainly with the outdoor visibility, overall screen brightness, and the need for its manual adjustment rather than having an ambient light sensor. But other than that, you won't be disappointed, especially when you find out that you can shoot videos underwater without a case or turn the flashlight on with a touch of a button. Direct competitors are Sony's rougher Androids like the rugged Xperia Go, which has a smaller display though, or the almighty Xperia Z, which would however be more fragile and expensive. The Lumia 820 also can give the Xcover 2 a run with the waterproof jacket on, though its Windows Phone OS has to catch up in the applications department. So to summarize, the pros of the Xcover 2 is that it's a rugged yet ergonomic waterproof handset, and it has a good picture and video quality. The negatives are that the outdoor screen visibility could be better. There's no ambient light sensor and there's no second mic for noise cancellation, so you will hear the ambient noise when you're talking outdoors. This was a video review of the Samsung Galaxy Xcover 2 from PhoneArena. For more information about this and other handsets, you can visit us at phonearena.com. Thanks for watching.